Isaac James, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. It's good to be here. Hi.
It is amazing to have you here. I'm very excited to get into our conversation today. It's been a little while since we've caught up, and these client special podcasts seem to do amazingly well. And I feel like you've got a story which a lot of people are going to be inspired by, a lot of people hopefully will be able to relate to as well. But before we dive into all the details of that, can you give us a little bit of context about who you are and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so I'm Isaac. I, by day, do some transformation stuff for government. So I've been doing that for many, many years. But really, over the last year, getting into fitness, I qualified as a PT. I teach cycle for a well-known club in London. Yeah, that's me really. Yeah, so I teach a bit of cycle, do some fitness stuff, and yeah, transformation by day.
Amazing. And has it always been that way? Where did the journey for Isaac begin in terms of your professional career and your journey with fitness as well?
Yeah, so I moved to London about 10 years ago. I've always worked in sort of government roles, front facing. I started my career actually in housing and homelessness, which is very like a distant memory now. And then basically started getting into digital IT, doing some transformation stuff for government. And yeah, moved to London 10 years ago. And that was really the start of gyms, personal training, my up and down relationship with diet and food and weight. And then yeah, so I've been working in government. More recently, become self-employed. So over the last year, yeah, became a consultant, doing some transformation in Oxford, which is quite an amazing
A
place. There we are. Um, and yeah, so that's been my journey really. And then I thought, well, why not just not just do that? Let's get into fitness and take the knowledge from my own journey and go and train to be a fitness instructor and then a PT, and see what I can do with that. So that's kind of been my journey really, and now I'm on that transitional phase. Like I feel like that this last year has been that, and now I'm living and breathing the new me. So
Absolutely. And we love to see that new you. And obviously, everyone's seeing the healthy and fit Isaac. But I want to roll back the years because that helps us all have a context of the kind of the storyline that took you here. So I don't think I've asked you this question before. What was your health and fitness growing up like? When you were a child, did you have healthy and fit parents? Or what was the situation from maybe, let's say, Isaac from the moment you were born up until you're maybe 16 to 18 years old?
yeah, I think it's really interesting. I've told you before, but yeah, over the last sort of year, I've been doing a lot of therapy, and it's amazing how always in my head I'm like, yeah, it doesn't relate to childhood, it doesn't relate to bringing up, but you start to make those connections. And my parents split up when I was 5. Back then, it was very unheard of, but my dad got custody of me, my brother, and my sister, and so he single-handedly brought us up. Um, Quite low income family, living off home cooked meals, but very carb heavy, sort of spaghetti bolognese, lasagna, things like that. So it was all always kind of maybe not overfeeding, but just definitely overeating of like that sort of food quite often. I was always the chubby one
Me
out of my
too.
brother
I
and my
can relate.
sister. They were very yeah. I was always the chubby kid. My brother and my sister stick thin, like still are. And honestly, my brother eats anything and everything, doesn't put on weight. So I'm hoping one day that hits. No, I'm joking. But yeah, so I was always the one that no matter what I ate, it just went on. And yeah, so I had quite a yeah. I mean, I enjoyed food. I ate a lot, lots of snacks, crisps, fizzy drinks, things like that. It wasn't something we really talked about. It's just I ate that, my brother and my sister had that, and yet we all turned out differently. And then it was about I think 17, where I started to take note of it a little bit and joined the leisure centre gym in my little hometown. Started ordering, I think it was Muscle Foods at the time. Lots of chicken arrived once a week, and started cooking my own food at sort of 17, 18. Chicken and veg and things like that. Did a little bit at the gym, but it was mainly cardio. I didn't know what I was doing in the weights area. So I guess that was the growing up period, and then moving to London at 22 is when I really started to take note. Got a PT, sorted my diet out, and ever since then it's been up, down, up, down, up, down. And I think it sometimes relates back to those habits as a kid, um, you know, or comfort food if you like. When things are great, let's have a snack, let's have chocolate, let's have alcohol, let's have fizzy drinks. When things are bad, let's do the same thing. So I think it was that, and I think yeah, it's been like that for most of my life, I guess, until the last couple of years. So yeah, that was growing up. I was happy. I was just eating a lot, and back then I didn't realize it. So when you have lasagna and garlic bread, like on a weeknight or whatever, I was like, yeah, this is great. This is nice food. My dad's a good cook. Like it was fine, but I think we've moved on a lot in life where we realize now those things are maybe for some people they're fine, but not for me, and it doesn't work for my body.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, right? It's like, how are you supposed to know any better? I think I share similarities in the sense when I was growing up, like the thing that you wanted to eat was the thing that was the tastiest, like, and that filled you up, right? And even filling you up was probably second priority to taste. And, there was no talk about the right macro ratios or what's going to fuel your body or anything. So it's like, how are you supposed to know? And that's why I'm very passionate about, trying to educate younger people as well. And what I love is that, those who are implementing the health fitness journey now, breaking those generational cycles. So when they hopefully bring up children one day, if they choose to have them, that's where we create a new cycle of this, right?
Definitely. I mean, I think that's my next exciting goal. I mean, lots of things, but having a child at some point, like teaching those good habits, the way that myself and Oscar live now, and it's just that's what I want to get to my child. Like, we don't need to eat like this. Like, let's eat healthy and actually enjoy food. And I think you see that. Like, I see parents with their children now, and children asking for like sushi or can we have fish? Like, it's just different. It's like we've moved on, I think, in society from then. So yeah, it's a very different me, I think, growing up to what I am now.
Absolutely. And what about exercise? You didn't mention much about that. Did you enjoy sport as a child? That's usually where most kids get into exercise, or not so much.
Hated PE. You'd come to that PE class, and we used to have this really weird timetable in my secondary school where you'd have like double lessons. We'd have double PE. Oh, I used to hate it. The only bit I think I really enjoyed was rugby, but maybe because I was a bit fatter. So people were like, "Yeah, he'll be good at rugby." I attempted hockey for a while, but that didn't really work out. And then, as I say, when I joined the gym at 17, the leisure centre, it was just cardio, literally for half an hour, and I'd be done. I was never very good at sports. I wasn't that kid that kind of was picked for anything. Or I didn't really enjoy it. So, and I don't think I did properly until I moved to London. And I just think that was where my mindset shifted. So there wasn't a lot of exercise, not even walking. I think now, like living in London, you walk everywhere, and you can walk several tube stops because it's easier and quicker and whatever. Uh, and back in my hometown, I remember the walk to town from my house to town centre was about 7 minutes. I used to do anything to get a lift into town, literally from my town. I used to thought it was the longest walk ever, and I just wouldn't do it. So I barely moved. It was a challenge. So yeah, it's very different me.
That's why I love to show that part of you because of a lot of people almost think, the people who are healthy and fit now, they must have been the people in sports who are gifted at everything in those PE classes. But the reality is most of us didn't have much nutritional education whatsoever, and we were pretty, average or below average at the sports and didn't really enjoy them so much. I definitely enjoyed PE as a child, but I was still a chubby kid just due to my nutrition and genetics more so than anything. So yeah, it's always nice to see that snapshot. And I want to go now into the period of what obviously you reached London, you started to take things quite seriously. You mentioned you were at the age of 22, but what age were you when you reached me in 2020?
So I was 29. I was halfway through that year of being 29, and I was feeling something around turning 30. Um, I don't know why. I've never really believed in horoscopes or anything like that, but there was something around. I knew I was turning 30 very soon after I joined you. I think I started with you in the November, and I turned 30 in the April after. But there was just something in that period of getting into my late 20s where I was like, I need to sort this out. I remember my friend Bobby, who I lived with, when he had turned 30, and that's when he started his fitness journey. And he got amazingly fit at that age, and he's maintained it. So I just thought, yeah, I need to do something by the time I get there. Because if I don't start now, if I don't do something now, this is not going to go well. Um, so yeah, I was 29.
Yeah, talk to me about those 7 years, right? Because that's a fairly long time to be invested in personal trainers, in gyms, in getting yourself fit. Like, what didn't click then for those 7 years between, the age of 22 and 29?
I think it was the diet and the habits. of food. So I loved the gym. You know, I had many PTs. I can think back in my time in London, the gyms I've been part of. I've been to almost every gym in London. It feels like every gym brand at least, and I've probably had a PT for a period of time in each of them. And I remember one of my former PTs, Zoe. I was with her for a really long time, but secretly still couldn't fix my diet. And she was like, "Come on, we can do this. Like, what's not shifting?" And I was not quite being honest about what I was still eating in the evenings because I was ashamed, right? So the exercise bit was going really well. I was putting on a good amount of muscle, felt like I could see a bit of change, but the body fat wasn't dropping because I couldn't fix the diet. And I think that for me was these periods of years where, over the years, where I was up and down, up and down. So I started at 22. I was bang on it. I remember moving in with my friend Bobby as a house share in London, and I remember that one year I was eating eggs for breakfast, green shakes. I had my NutriBullet. It was those years of NutriBullet days. Steak and broccoli. And I remember losing weight so quickly, and I got so skinny. And I remember going out with some friends. I worked at TV at the time as a little side job, and I remember friends seeing me for the first time in a couple of months, and I'd been on it, like super on it, and they were like, "Oh my God, you look ill." Like I'd gone really gaunt and like skinny, and I thought I looked great, but quickly bounced back. And then over the years after that, I just went up again and up again, and then down a little bit, and then pandemic hit, and the last couple of years before I saw you, just my weight was steadily increasing, um, and it just felt like this is going to be my life, up and down, up and down. So I loved the gym at that point. You know, I was really enjoying weightlifting. I was really enjoying classes, going to spin classes, things like that. But the weight wasn't shifting because I couldn't fix the diet.
And it's really not an unusual story, right? Especially with my years in the gym as a personal trainer. Like, I worked in one gym for like 4 or 5 years in Oxford in my first ever gym. And people would go to the gym week in, week out for 3, 4 years whilst I was there, but they would still look exactly the same. So, and it's not an unusual story. So it's curious to hear you know you loved the gym, you went regularly. It was only until you really got the nutrition to be fully locked in until those changes really take place. Were you at your kind of peak highest weight of adult life when we started working together in 2020?
Just before I met you, I got to my highest, and I think I dropped a kilo or two, maybe a couple of kilos before I contacted you. But yeah, it was the highest I'd ever been. Uh,
What was it, if you don't mind me asking?
107,
107 kilos. And where do you stand as of today, just out of interest?
76.
Look at that. Incredible, right?
Yeah. And I've been a little bit lower, but I've been away for the last few weeks and it's gone up, and I'm okay with that. Uh, but yeah, my goal is still 70. But my muscle mass has gone up quite a bit in the last year. Uh, but yeah, no, I was a bit lower before Hong Kong, and I've been there for the last 5 weeks. And you know, I'm okay. It's now it's that long term, let's maintain this for life. You know, this healthy way of living, and it's the habits that I've learned over the last few years that has enabled me to do that. But yeah, 107, shocking. I quite like looking at the graphs though. I go back and look at the graphs of how I've come down. It's quite a nice feeling. And I do look at the photos mainly because Oscar likes to see them. Uh, but it's unrecognizable. Um, but the real reason I contacted you, one, because my friend Jez had been on the journey with you, and I think people that are listening to this would have seen Jez.
I'm still trying to get him on the podcast.
I'll get him on the
Yeah.
podcast. I'll message him
Let's go
afterwards.
for like a two-prong
Let's
attack.
do it.
Let's
Let's
both
do
try and
it.
get him on there.
He's looking great now, and it was that, but it was also one day I woke up, uh, and I had these two deep stretch marks on my stomach out of nowhere. So one day they weren't there, the next morning they were there, and they were really purple. Um, Not too big. I can barely see them now. But that for me was like, whoa, something's happened. There's no going back, because if I carry on eating the way that I'm eating and living the way that I'm living, they're going to get worse. I'm just not going to be able to reverse this. And I think it was that, yeah, it like hit me like a slap in the face, to be honest. And I'd seen Jez going through his thing, and I just needed to do something different. You know, and we were in the pandemic, right? There was all of that going on. So it felt like impossible. How can I change habits and ways of doing things when I was almost stuck at home? So, but yeah, it was that really. It was the weight, but it was also the stretch marks.
Yeah, and what gave you the belief that you were able to do it this time round? Like going through 7 years of things not fully shifting. Obviously, seeing Jazz as a bit of inspiration, and obviously seeing the stretch marks as well as a bit of a wake up call. But after years and years of kind of thinking that my life is destined to be me going up and down, what made you think that this time it was going to stick? Because I think a lot of people will go through that. They're like, oh, I'm not going to do another one because I'm just going to end up in the same position. But so it's great that you went into it with like, okay, this is the time where I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah, I think it was ending my 20s, knowing that I was coming into my 30s. I think it was the period of COVID. So I started with you in that October, November, after we'd had a good 6 months of lockdowns and being at home, chance to reflect, working out priorities, and something just needed to change. And like those early days, my weight came down quite quickly, but I still wasn't 100% on it. There were times where I'd fail. We'd have conversations where weight had stayed the same for weeks on end, because it was a real shift that I needed to make. But I wanted to. I I really needed to make that change, and that led to everything else that's happened since. And I didn't think it would. I thought it might just be let's lose some kilos and I'll be a bit healthier. I didn't really quite know what would happen next in all this last year or two, um, but it's been the best few years of my life because of that.
Yeah, it's been like a transformation inside out. For the listeners' context, when I met you, you were Daryl Dernan.
I was
You weren't Isaac James, right? You
completely
had
different.
brown hair,
Yeah.
you were over 100 kilos, and you had a completely different name and a very completely different lifestyle as well. That you had nothing to do with fitness from a professional perspective at that stage. So it's been a massive, massive transformation. So before we go into those highs of how you've adopted all those things, can you talk about the things that you've let go of during this journey as well? Because I think it's a significant thing. Because I think me and my girlfriend had this conversation all the time about if you don't let go of what's not for you, you can't let in what is for you, right? And it just holds space, even if it's subconscious space, even if it's just a small percentage, that space is being occupied. And the thing that needs to come in needs to fill 100% of that space. So even if it's just 1% it's holding, it's still too much. So I want to talk about that because I think that's something that you embraced and adopted in an incredible way over these past couple of years.
I think there was a lot of things. I've pretty much changed every aspect of my life. I think the biggest thing was that I'd been in quite a long relationship and I was living with him and we had dogs, and we just weren't happy. And I think had COVID not happened, we may still be together. Who knows? Uh, I don't think we would have been though. I think it would have eventually come to an end, but maybe not in the same way. I think, but what COVID did is gave me a chance to really reflect on my work, my home life, my diet, my fitness, my mindset. I was very angry. Don't know why. I was just very angry as a person. I would be very stressed. I would be very reactive to situations at work, at home. Me and my ex would argue every single day about all sorts of things. Uh, and I'm sure he won't mind if he's listening to this, because we chat now and it's okay. But we're not happy. We were in a rut, and I think we fed off each other with that. So diet was very, very bad, and there didn't seem to be a way that we could help each other out of that until I needed to make the change. Work was pretty bad. It was stressful. Not much support at work. It was just not a very good time. And I think when you've got work that's bad, home life that's bad, and I couldn't seem to hold on to many friends. I had a good couple of friends that have been stable throughout the whole period. You start to reflect on thinking, what's going on? This has got to be me. And I got to the point of thinking, because as a kid I was a bit hyperactive at school and things like that, and symptoms of ADHD started to creep in, and I was getting tested for that at the time as well. And I was thinking, it's got to be that. It's got to be that. It can't be my diet. It can't be my home situation. It can't be all these things. It's just got to be that. So that's causing all of these things. Not that those things are causing these kind of outbursts and forgetfulness and anger episodes and stuff like that. And that's taken me a lot of work to get to where I am now. And so I just had to let go of certain things. So I changed my work. I me and my ex decided to break up, and after 5 years move out, despite just buying a flat a couple of months before starting with you, and we had the dogs involved. It was, it wasn't an easy journey. Um, but yeah, it was a case of just having to let those things go. And once I started to, I think the relationship ending was a big thing for me, where I needed to just find myself again. Uh, Not that I blame him for me getting to where I was at, because it takes two to tango, right? Sometimes, and I think, but just admitting that we've both been able to move on, and me, I've made a lot of changes because of that. My work was a big thing as well. I think life's too short to be so stressed from work, and I know it's difficult. We all need money, and we need stability. But I had to make some bold choices about what I was doing, and I took a risk and went to a new job that also didn't work out. I had been chasing that career ladder for a really long time. Got to an assistant director position. 6 months later, left because it wasn't for me. I didn't want it anymore, and so then I went to work for myself and do some consulting, which has been amazing. But it was a case of just changing a few things and having to really just keep reminding myself that I wanted to be happier, that I wanted to enjoy life again. Um, and it's too short to sit there and argue every day. And I had some good support from friends, because it was not an easy time. Ending a long-term relationship is never easy. But when you've lived with that person and you've had COVID as well, where you were so close for so long, it almost felt even harder. Um, but it then unlocked what was to come. So I think for me that it was the best thing. By just, we decided that enough was enough. Uh, Work, yeah, getting back into, doing the plan with you. There was those things, and I, even during lockdown, like doing home workouts, like looking ridiculous in my living room, like it was the start of that, actually starting to enjoy fitness again, because I'd committed to it, and yeah, really needed to make it work. So
Yeah, it's huge. And what I love about that, and what I want the listeners to take away, is that sometimes you feel that the set of cards in front of you is your final hand. There's no way of, shuffling a deck or taking a new set of cards, especially when the cards that you have are so heavy. 5-year relationship, just bought a flat, climbing up this career ladder for almost a decade or so to this pinnacle point of the career which you've been working for so long, to then realize that you can actually change those. Obviously, it takes a lot of boldness and bravery to do that, but at the same time, it's beautiful to recognize that A, you can, and B, the other side of that can be the life you actually wanted, not the life that you thought that you wanted and thought that you were destined to have as well. And I know that at various points there's going to be temptation to go back. How did you avoid the temptation to glue yourself to the version of you that you knew in the past, whether it was with work, whether it was with that relationship? How did you really cut ties and be like, no, I'm invested in this new version of yourself? You mentioned, reminding myself that I wanted to be happy, I wanted all of this. What were some of those moments, and what did they look like?
I think it happens too often where you make a decision that you're going to do something and then you revert back. And I think once you've done that too many times, you can't do that again. And I think me and my ex-partner, we had one too many arguments, and it just got to that point where we knew that last argument was the one. Uh, and there is no point of going back, because we both deserve to be happier. We both deserve to see what else is out there. We're still young. So let's not do this again. Let's not go around that merry-go-round again. And I think that was the bit where, once that was definitive, and I started to, because I was quite independent up until, the last 6 months of our relationship, I was very independent. I was doing things, I was going to the gym on my own, I was going on holidays with my friends, we weren't doing much together for a variety of reasons. And I think you start to then go, actually, I can't do this. It's going to be hard. And it was hard, saying goodbye, especially the day he moved out, and say goodbye to my dogs, because they're with him and one's with my best friend. And that's tough, because life is very different. But I felt good, because I knew that I'd made that decision, and I was able to continue growing on my own no matter what happened next. I was making an active change, which meant if I could do something as hard as that, surely I can do everything else. I think the work thing was tricky as well, because, like I say, I wanted to climb that career ladder, and I got to that assistant director job by the time I was 30, which I was like, yes, like that's a big tick for me. Like, I'm on the road to being a director and then going higher. And I got there, and it just was so unpleasant. I was so stressed, and I thought, well, I've done this big change, and now I need to do the next big change, which is actually do something that I'm going to enjoy. And it was a risk to be a consultant and leave that permanent, stable job, but that was another. Well, I've done it. I can do it. I'm going to do this. So if I can do those two big things, I can stick to the food. I can make some changes here, and then that led on to me meeting Oscar, and having headspace to meet someone else, and being so open to meeting someone new and sharing everything up until that point. And if he liked me, he liked me. If he didn't, well, then what can I do? And it's turned out amazingly well. So it wasn't easy at the beginning. You know, those 6 months before we finally ended our relationship, it wasn't easy because we'd argue all the time, and then we'd make up and it'd be fine, and it'd go round and round and round, and then enough was enough. And we said goodbye, and a few months later, he moved out, and we are now with new people, and he's with someone that he gets on super well with. I've met him, and they seem super happy, and I'm really pleased for him. And I'm with someone amazing, who makes me the happiest I've ever been. So yeah. But it's not the only thing. I did a lot of therapy last year. There was more to it. It wasn't just a case of, well, I ended the relationship, I changed the job, I became fitter and healthier. There was still that deep stuff that I needed to fix, because like I said, I was angry. I was living in the past a lot of the time, and for someone new, that's not easy. I was not easy to live with Oscar at the beginning. It was actually so I proposed to Oscar in December.
Congratulations once again.
Thank you. So it's been a whirlwind of just over a year with him, and went to his city, Hong Kong, and met his parents and his friends, and I've been learning Cantonese, and in my engagement speech to him, I basically thanked him for not giving up when times were hard, because at the beginning it was not easy for him. I was still angry, I guess, from the past, and I would always say to him, yeah, but I've been in a 5-year relationship, what do you know? And I couldn't let go, and I did some therapy and really needed to fix myself, and I feel like I've come out the other end. Not that therapy's over and that's it and I'm fixed forevermore, because it's a journey, but I do feel like a very different person, and it wouldn't have happened if I made some big, significant, risky changes in my life. Like, it is risky, right? To give up everything you know, and your life and where you live, and your comfortability, if that's a word. All those things that you're comfortable with. It's not easy.
Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest step that people have to take. They have to leave their comfort zones in order to go into this new version of themselves. And it's called a comfort zone for a reason. It's extremely comfortable, right? And it's hard to get out of there. And it's really hard to embrace the new, the unfamiliar, the initially uncomfortable as well, to tap into this new version of yourself. Would you say that if you hadn't made those changes in your life, with adopting therapy, with leaving that relationship, with changing your work, do you think your health and fitness would be where it is right now, or not?
No, for sure not. I think I would have possibly been still up and down, up and down. I mean, I definitely would have dropped weight, because like I said, getting the stretch marks and seeing what I'd done to myself in the mirror was the most upsetting thing. There would have definitely been a reduction in weight, but would I be healthy inside and out? I'm not sure. Would I be at the weight that I'm at? Because weight's not the most important thing. What the scale says, right? It's about how I feel when I look at myself. And for the first time ever, I feel confident. I wear clothes that I feel good in. You also get that external validation from lots of people, which is nice, but it's when I look at myself and internally I feel healthier. But I don't think I would have been here, this all-round healthiness, mentally, physically, if I hadn't made some of those changes. For sure not.
Yeah, it's huge. It's really huge. And I also want to now talk about the impact that therapy had on your journey as well. I recently said in a podcast that, forget the supplementation, forget the diet protocol, like go get yourself a journal and find out the reason for the things that you're doing, what you're doing. And that could be way more helpful than anything that you could adopt from a training protocol, nutrition protocol, because a lot of it is going on in our minds. And I've been a big proponent of therapy. I'm not doing it right now. I kind of did the same thing as you, kind of had a year of it, took a bit of a hiatus. I've gone back and forth since and understand that that's a lifelong journey as well. So I want to talk about the impact of therapy. What were some of the big learnings that you gained from therapy that have helped you in your personal life and also when it comes to your health and fitness as well?
It's been, I can't even describe it. So I saw my therapist once a week for an hour, right up until I went to Hong Kong actually. And it was quite a big step. And I don't think I would have taken it had I'd not had quite a significant conversation with Oscar in the early days. And probably on the verge of him giving up because why would you stay when I'm with this really angry person and things like that. And he just really got my mind into a different zone, thinking I need to get some help. I need to address some of whatever's going on. I'm not really sure what it is, but I need to talk, and I need to just talk to someone external that isn't my friends, that isn't my family, someone else that can help me process what is going on. And I've just gone through this incredible journey of understanding myself, putting value on myself. So for the first time, being able to look at myself, going, actually, I look good, I feel good, which is a really big step for me. I've always been, oh my God, I look awful, I don't feel good. I'd change outfits many, many times before I'd go out because I just felt, oh, I'm too fat in this. And even though I don't think I was, but that's how I felt in my mind. And I just needed to process a lot of that, I suppose. And so I really got to a point with my therapist where I feel good about myself. I'm happy. I have more trust than I ever have in my relationship. I think trust is really hard, and I think a lot of that stems from early days and family and things like that. I want to have a long, healthy, happy relationship with Oscar. We've committed to getting married to each other because of that, and I think it's completely helped me remain calm or become calm, I suppose, um, and content. I'm just happy with what I've done and what I've achieved. And actually, until you sit down with someone and list out kind of everything you've done in life and how you've got to where you've got to, I don't think you can sometimes see that. And just he was getting me to do little things like writing down my wins of the week and actually write down some significant things that I've achieved in my life, like getting my assistant director job at 30 was a big win. I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that. I did that. you know. Um, and so I think it was just helping me to frame that with some of my emotion. Why would I respond in such an angry way? Try and flip my mind a little bit and getting me to just stay a little bit calmer and process before I speak. So it's just changed everything, and I still think about him and things that we discussed in those sessions now, and I think I will for a really long time, um, because I think I always underestimated the kind of impact that therapy could have. Also, men don't talk about it enough.
No, it's very
I
true.
don't think I really have the friends, and this isn't a reflection on them, and it's not their fault, but and maybe it's me. I think partly it's me, is that I would never want to discuss it with friends, how I'm truly feeling, how I'm processing things. They would just see a version of me, and I don't think they would call it out either necessarily. So actually speaking to that external person, letting me speak for an hour, and just asking the right questions at the right time, when most of it came from me and the hard work came from me in those sessions, it's quite powerful, and it's definitely something I'll go back to. And my therapist said to me on the last session, he said, I will always have you back. Like just email me at any point and we'll sort it out again. And I do think I'd go back. I do think it's necessary. I don't, and I said this to many people. I said this to Oscar when I came out of my last session. I don't think that's the end for me. I don't, I'm not naive. I don't think I've fixed myself completely. I don't think that's it forevermore. I think there's more to come. Um, but it's definitely had an impact on keeping me focused, week on week, keeping me focused about the relationship, who I am, my fitness journey, what I've done in my professional career and my work, and understanding who I am, who I want in my life, and how I can move forward. And I think that's been so powerful. And I wish more people could get access to therapy, because I was lucky enough to be able to pay for it privately because of situations, with the NHS. But it's been amazing for me.
Yeah, it's enormous. It was a massive thing in my journey as well. And some of the insights I was able to gain have, yeah, single-handedly transformed my life. I'd say a combination between cognitive behavioral therapy, which I did for over a year, and hypnotherapy single-handedly like changed the course of my life. It was like, you're going down this path, and then like the therapy and the insights I got, I was like, oh nope, you're going over here. And it led me into a completely different direction, which, yeah, I'm unbelievably thankful for. And what I love about this story and what I love about hearing from you is that it wasn't sunshine and rainbows whatsoever. It wasn't just fixing your nutrition and fixing your training either. It was like you really had to go in deep and kind of go down to the roots in order to build back up again. And that's what I want people to take away from this as well. It's that sometimes you think, it's just going to be getting on the right diet. It's just going to be getting on the right training protocol. It's just about being consistent. And I'm like, these things is not to take away anything away from sometimes the difficulty that we have with them, but black and white, they're not difficult to understand, right? We understand that you eat consistently for a while, you train hard, you sleep well, and you hydrate yourself, you are going to get results. But the reason why it's not so black and white is because there's so much going on beneath the surface that you need to work through, or it would be, I would encourage anyone to work through it in order to be able to do that as well. So I'm glad that you spoke about that. And also the male aspect as well. I actually spoke to a author who wrote the book Billy No Mates, which is basically he was in a position where he just proposed to his girlfriend. She said yes, thankfully. And then he ended up thinking, okay, well, who's going to be my best man? And he realized he had no one to fill that role in his life. So he went on a journey of like trying to find his best man. He wrote a book about it, and he went through, various different studies. And, there's a well-reported study from November that says that, 1 in 3 men have someone that they would be able to call on in the bad times. But there's a certain, I don't know if I'm getting that study completely correct, but there's a big percentage of men who don't have that close person. And if they don't have that close person, just that percentage, what about those people who just have that mate where they can talk to, but they can't open up to? And I think that's a really big thing. So when it comes to those who are kind of on that stage of thinking, I need someone to talk to, but are kind of afraid to make that next step, what would you encourage them to do, especially the men who are listening today?
Do some research. There's so much out there now. Even if you don't have someone that you can talk to, you don't think you have someone, start by looking what's out there. There is so much. Just reach inside a little bit, like a little bit of meditation. I think that's how I started. I remember you used to encourage me on my plan to have that wind down time in the evening, and I did. And that's because the situation I was in at the time, I'd go to bed on my own most nights, and I'd have that opportunity, which actually was one of the best bits about it. Like, I'd be able to wind down and process my thoughts and feelings for the day. And I think sometimes it's just starting at the smallest bit, which is that, like, actually sitting down and sitting with your feelings, writing some stuff down. Because it's interesting you said about the wedding, the best man and the wedding list. I have just done the same thing with Oscar. We did our wedding list on the weekend. And I looked at my list and I thought, I'm nearly 32. How have I only got 14 people because we're doing a very small, intimate, close friends and family. 2 of them is my dad and my stepmom. And I thought, how have I only got 12 people? And then some other people have said, actually, that's amazing. If you've got that you could call on, you've got these people. But it's true. I think as you get older, I certainly have on this journey. I've closed down my group of those that I can really call on, because those are the ones I can truly call on. But they're not necessarily the people that I can talk to about my feelings. So therapy was the right way for me. But now they've heard this, maybe they'll come and talk to me about it, or I'll talk to them. But I think, someone listening is just trying to do a bit of self-reflection, writing some things down, sitting with it. It's not easy. And I think for me, there was a moment where I thought I needed to get some help, where I was just acting very erratic, and I thought, I've definitely got ADHD. And I remember just reaching into the other and pulling something out, burning my hands, because I'd just been on the go and I hadn't stopped. And I just thought, I'm tired now. I'm tired of being so up and down with weight, with life, with everything. And that was a good, significant moment for me. But then all this journey has been. And it was one of the bits that connected Oscar and I the most. He's a psychology teacher, knows his stuff, super interested in it. And I think when I met him and I was talking about my journey and all of this, it just brought us together. And it was like, I found someone now that I can truly open up to. And that's been a game changer. But, starting out, I think it's just sitting with those feelings, doing some research, having a little think, taking a walk on your own. Remember those days of lockdown where I'd go on my hour and a half walk on my own? listening to listening to podcasts, listening to things, and just like, yeah, super important time. I think it was all of that that helped like this journey. Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, you put it in amazing words there. You should say it's like reach inside, just look within, like recognize that you're the main character of your life and you have responsible for how the story, for the most part, goes, right? There's only so much that we can control. There's a certain path and destiny that's laid out for us, but we are very, very able to make our own decisions and get out of our own way as well in many senses of the word too. So there's many things that we can do, and I think, like you mentioned, just reaching within and just starting to gain some awareness, sitting quietly, listening, instead of just, like you said, being on the go, constantly doing something, constantly striving for something, and just giving you a space to listen could be an amazing shift. And speaking of amazing shifts, you have now embrace the health and fitness lifestyle, not only from a personal standpoint, but from a professional standpoint as well. You do a lot of spin, you do a lot of nutrition work as well. Talk to us about that transition, because if someone who met you in 2020 probably wasn't predicting that this is where you would be in 2 years' time, right?
No one would predict this. I think. Do you know what? Even and I hope he doesn't mind me saying, but even my ex, when I said to him, "I want to become a spin instructor," and he was like, "Since when?" That's part of the bit. It wasn't very supportive, but I was like, I've always loved spin, and I thought, actually, I'm starting to get fit. I'm starting to appreciate this journey a bit more. I just joined an amazing gym in London, and the classes were insane. And I thought, okay, I really want to teach here. Like, and I said to the instructor Susie, who's been my mentor basically throughout this, Susie and Lucy, and I said to them, I want to become, I want to become an instructor. And this is a really high end gym in London that take experienced PTs and fitness instructors that have been doing it for years. And I hadn't had any qualifications at that point. And I thought, I'm going to do it. Signing up for my level 2. I'm going to get my level 2, then I'm going to get my level 3. And I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do something for me. And I started it just after the relationship ended. And it kept me focused. Every weekend I went to Central London and did this course and met some amazing people. And we were all from different walks of life. And that was what really got me thinking, I can do this. It's not the typical person that looks amazing. Well, anyone can do this if they're committed to it. And again, that kept me focused through this last year since I've qualified. I had one goal in mind, which was to teach cycle, even if I only did it once, for this high-end gym in London with clients in my class, me showing off my personality as much as I could, playing with the lights, the music, and I did it. And yeah, passed my level 2, passed my level 3 after a little bit of pain with the science, but I kept going. It's not easy, but I kept going. I got my qualifications, and yeah, now I'm teaching. I've got 2 permanent classes a week in their brand new central London gym. I'm starting to get to know the clients. I'm helping them on their journey, and I think that's been the most significant thing, is that we've all got goals. Might not be gym related or not, but they come into the cycle class. I get to know them on a name by name basis. We have a little chat. People are saying to me, "Is this the right thing to do to lose weight? Like, you look great. How did you do it?" And I tell them my journey, and it's an amazing feeling. And I can see those members coming back week on week on week, and they feel good, they look good, and it's just kept me motivated. And so then I thought, well, let's do the nutrition as well. So I've literally just started my level 5 nutrition, learning about a lot of that, because even if I never use it for clients, I want to know what I'm putting in my body, like to the most granular detail now. Again, Oscar's like super supportive. Like, he knows everything about what's going on in our bodies. He's watching videos all day long, doing some research, all of this stuff, and he's like super supportive. And I think now that I'm starting to learn that, he's keen to learn from me. Like, what are we putting in our bodies? It's not just a case of eating in this way forevermore. Like, you can have flexibility, you can have freedom, but I want to know. And so yeah, that's for this whole year. I'm going to be doing that nutrition course at my own pace, and I'm excited to see what comes of it, because there may well be a full-time future of the health and fitness, and I think that's probably long-term what I see happening, is there's going to be this transition. I know I'm a bit older, or I'm getting older, but I'm super keen. Like, I can take my learning, and I think that's so valuable, like taking what I've learned, the challenges as well, and helping other people. And even if it is a spin class for 45 minutes where they come in and just do it because they feel like they have to do it. Like I'm still like giving them that energy, and I'm bouncing off their energy, and especially those that connect with me and chat to me, and you know, we spend some time talking before and after class. It's insane. I never thought 2 years ago I'd be doing that. Even you know, like a year ago I was on the course. I think I just passed my level 2 this time last year, and now 2 permanent classes in high-end gym in London. It's a good feeling, and you know, I'm learning lots from amazing colleagues as well. You go to their classes, you learn off each other, and there's so many opportunities. So yeah, I'm not the typical, if you know, and this is it. And actually, I need to tell you this story. I was in the Soho Club about 2 months ago, and I was looking at this guy for ages, and I was like, I know that face. I know that face. I went to middle school with him and high school,
Wow.
and he used to bully me.
No way.
And bully in the loosest term, like just name calling and things like that, because I was the chubby kid, right? And I thought, I know him. I'm gonna go up to him and say hello. And I thought, who is this? Like, I'm not gonna do that usually, like especially the guy that used to bully me at school, right? But I did, and I went up to him and I said hi, like said his name, and he was like, I was like, yeah, it was Daryl, but obviously I've changed to Isaac, and I was like, yeah, it was Daryl from school, and he's like, oh my god, like, and we chatted for ages, and he's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm teaching him. I'm about to teach my cycle class. Just couldn't believe it, and you know that I think that for me was like a moment where, if anyone who knew me from school would not expect me to be doing this now, because I just wasn't that kid. I think even my dad's amazed at the things that I come out with sometimes, like, oh, I'm doing this now and I'm doing this now, and you know, he wouldn't have thought it either. And I guess, yeah, I'm kind of proud of that, because when I want something, I go and get it, and I work hard for it. So yeah, it's not, you know, it's for everyone. Yeah, you know, if you're really committed to it and you really want something, go and do it. And yeah, I've loved it, and I'm loving it. You know,
It's amazing. And it just shows what can come from taking that investment and making that decision to work on yourself, right? Like that's where it's all stemmed from. Like that one decision to be like, I'm committing and I'm not going back this time. I'm only going forward, and look at everything that's come from it. I think that that's like the largest part for me, is that, you know, and that's what I love about working with new clients as well, is that I think that if am to blow my own trumpet for once, is that I am able to see potential in people before they can see it in themselves, because I have examples of people like you. Throughout the course of my career, I've seen people come from, you know, health and fitness knowledge of zero to becoming trainers, and not even that, just becoming someone who enjoys their life and is in shape and had never been that way before. So when I see someone who comes to me and starts and they've got the right mindset, they're ready to make a change, I'm like, I see your potential is limitless, right? And I think that that's the beautiful thing. And I think that you're a perfect example of this story. Like, not everyone has to go down the route of becoming a health and fitness professional, you know, not at all. But at the same time, it just shows the capacity. Like, if you can go from the opposite of like starting with zero knowledge, the complete opposite of that is being a health and fitness professional, right? And I think that that's
literally
what this encapsulates for me, is the sense of like, you've taken it from literally the opposite to 100% the opposite side of the spectrum, and wherever anyone wants to fall on that spectrum, it's like that's available to you. And I think that's what I want people to take away today, because of, yeah, I think that a lot of people get the idea, like you said, is like, you know, the health and fitness industry or personal trainers is supposed to be the people who have been healthy all their lives. But the reality is, like, the people who are going to have the most success, like yourself, Isaac, is the fact that you can relate to every single person's journey, because of 95% of people who start a health and fitness journey were not in a great position to begin with. Maybe it's not 95%, but it's usually those who weren't in a good position to begin with. So you know exactly how they feel and how it's to be on the other side of that. So I think it's very inspirational. It's really inspirational.
yeah, and I think it's to not give up. It's you know, it's not an easy journey, and I think I was, until I started with you, and even partly the way through with you, I think I was always in that mindset of, I'm going to do it fast, I'm going to go hard at it, and it's all going to be great. I'm going to come out the other end very quickly, very skinny, I'm going to look great, and I'm going to go and enjoy my life. You know, you and I worked out very quickly that it wasn't like that. You know, I had a big drop, but there were ups and downs, and if you look at the graph at that point, it was quite interesting. But I'm glad it went that way. And that's not for everyone, you know. Lots of people will start with you, or start with a PT, or go to a gym because they want to hammer it fast and hard and lose weight very quickly and look good at the end. And that works for some people. But for me, if I'd done that, but still had the same mindset and the same situations that I was in, I'll be back where I was. And so it's been a just over 2 year journey for me, and I've maintained that weight. I think I'm quite proud the fact that Oscar and I have been away for 5 weeks in Hong Kong, and nearly every day we went to the gym. We did some level of exercise, but I was free and I was eating what I wanted for that period of time because I thought I need to, and I enjoyed it. And I haven't put on a huge amount of weight. And actually, it's okay if I did because I'm just taking a bit of a break, but I'm straight back on it. And we were in the gym anyway. We're doing something per day. Now, if you'd seen me a year ago, that wouldn't be me when I go on holiday, looking for the nearest gym, signing up for a gym when I'm away. And we were really encouraging each other to get to the gym and just do half an hour. We're just walking on the treadmill or walking around a lot more than we usually would. So that was a particularly nice feeling. And when I've got friends wanting to meet for coffee or to catch up, the conversation usually goes, should we do a Barry's bootcamp class, or should we do an F45? Should we do something? And can I come to one of your classes and then we'll get coffee after? I mean, like, that was never me. It would usually be like, where can we go for the best food and sit and eat and eat and eat? And so it's nice to have that balance where actually, those that want to catch up with me, they also want to do some exercise with me, and then we'll go and do that. That's become life now. It's when can I fit in the gym? When can I do this? But also having the moments to enjoy food. This weekend we'll celebrate Chinese New Year with some of Oscar's friends, and I'm going to enjoy that food because it's all about balance. And I know that I'm on a longer term journey, which is a great feeling.
Yeah, there's two things that stick out there. The first is what I acknowledged you for before we got on the call today, was that your persistence shone through every time. And I think that there was moments where we had dips for 2 days, 2 weeks, or 2 months. And as I mentioned to you before, it's like you were always willing to get back on point with it. It was never like, okay, this is just not working out for me, I'm going to try a different way. It was always like, okay, I'm just going to stabilize and then I'm going to push forward again. And I think, as you mentioned, if you don't give up, you get the opportunity to get all the results that you wanted. And like you said, you dropped that mindset of like, this needed to be done in 6 to 12 weeks. You had that understanding of, okay, it's going to take a little longer. And that's what I love about what you said about Hong Kong. That's what I love about what you said this weekend as well, is that those people who maintain the results long term are those who take situations like this and don't catastrophize about them. They're like, okay, I'm having some more food than I usually have, but I'm going to get back to my normal habits. I'm going to get back to my normal lifestyle, and I'm going to be absolutely fine. That is the major, major difference between those who see their results for short term and those who see them for the long term. Yeah. And that's what you're proving to us now, which is amazing. And next time we're in London, me and my girlfriend are going to have to do your spin class as well.
Yes. Oh my God. Crazy. Yeah, that would be crazy. But yeah, you're more than welcome.
That'd be amazing. I've got one final question for you, Isaac, today, which is, where do you see your health and wellness in the next 10 years or so?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I have got my long-term objective is to be just healthy long-term. And, I have got a body shape in mind. I think everyone has. And that does evolve and adapt over the last few months. That's changed because I thought I wanted to be super skinny and lean, and actually, I want to be a bit bulkier. I want to have some good muscle, and that's just the physical appearance. I guess long-term, over the next 10 years, I want to be happy, healthy mind. I want to be able to continue the kind of, or to get better, slightly better, because I'm doing well, but I'm not quite there, but get better at the eating so that I can really truly embrace the balance of food. I can have the good days, but I can also have the events and the holidays and things like that, and maintain this level. It's not about, for me, ever going back to where I was. That's just not an option. And I guess in 10 years, I'm going to be 42, coming up to 42. I'd like to have a child. I want to be a healthy dad. I want to be able to pass down my knowledge of fitness and well-being, mindset, not being afraid to speak about your feelings, not being afraid to take risks, and just help people, but also just be healthy myself. Yeah, that's what I want, really.
It's powerful.
I don't know what that looks like in 10 years. I don't know what I'll look like, and hopefully I will continue to be strong and, mentally, physically. But yeah, Just got to keep at it.
I have no doubt. Yeah, I feel like it's just an upward trajectory from here, Isaac. I truly do think so. Like it has been since I met you. You know, these past 2 years have been a very nice example of that. And I can only see, like you saw the graph going down when it came to your body weight, it's the graph going up in terms of your quality of life and everything that you want from it as well. So, any closing messages for the listeners today?
I think, yeah, just don't be fixated on the quick wins. I think, especially if you do a bit of soul searching and find out that you might have some other things going on. Yes, you can get to that weight, you can drop weight very quickly in theory, but it doesn't fix everything. I think about your long term 1, 2, 5 year plan. And I wish I'd kind of done that at the beginning. It may have changed, but that's certainly the reflection I've taken now is I was so fixated on making quick changes, but I know it wouldn't have fixed anything. So yeah, focus on that long term goal of being happy and healthy, whatever that looks like.
Whatever that looks like for you, exactly. And where is the best place for people to find you if they want to keep up with your journey and maybe come to your class one day?
Yes, so they can find me on Instagram at Isaac James ID. Connect with me on there. You'll see all my classes. I post a lot of selfies in the gym because I feel good, and why not? But yeah, come and find me on Instagram, and yeah, you can come to one of my classes for sure.
Isaac, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Amazing. Thank you so much.